What's up, YouTube? It's me, John Avenger, once again, and welcome to another horror review. And this is of a classic 1974, I believe, Toby Hooper classic from that has been remade and had tons of sequels, but nothing can top the original, and that is the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This is the special edition that came out a long time ago, back in like 2003, and this is one of the scariest movies that's ever been made. Definitely, it's not the goriest, it's not the most controversial, but it's definitely one of the scariest. I mean, that dinner scene alone, in like near the end of the film, is one of the most creepiest, atmospheric things I've ever seen, and most disturbing things I've ever seen. This movie, it brought us the world of Leatherface, one of the greatest horror icons of all time. It has a cast mainly unknowns at the time. I mean, no one knew who Gunnar Hansen was back in 1974. But this film just it set a bar very high for slasher films, especially in the 70s, after a decade after Psycho. And just the film definitely still holds up. There's a reason that this film gets re-released like every couple years with a new edition, because it's a story that is just timeless. And I do like the remake. I like the second film. I like Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. I hate Part 4, and I can't. And the prequel, could have been better. It wasn't the worst, but it could have been better. And I couldn't stand the 3D movie that came out in 2013. But this is a classic. It will never be touched. It has stood the test of time. They've made tons of additions because they care about this film, and it's still atmospheric. The girl in the movie, Marilyn Burns, rest in peace, dear lady. We miss you. It was not that was one of the only good things in the 3D movie that came out in 2013, that Marilyn Burns played the same role again, telling her story about what happened. Getting away from Leatherface, being captured by him and his crazy family. The hitchhiker and the cook and Grandpa. Which, yeah, it's crazy that this movie has spawned so many. It's been loved for so many years by horror fans, that it's been treasured by so many people, and it spawned sequels, prequels, a remake, etc. They're gonna do another film. I just hope they don't mess it up, because they haven't done a good film of this in a long time. But the original is a classic. I don't have the sequels anymore because, well, somebody stole my second movie and the remake, so I can't show or review those. But I definitely really enjoy the original. It still holds up. That's mostly what I can say. I mean, who hasn't talked about this film in great detail? Critics, were mixed on it. Some people really loved it. Some people were appalled. It was banned in certain countries. It still is. I'm glad it's not banned here in the U.S. because it's I'm glad that I got to see this film. I actually saw it on YouTube, and it was very disturbing. I was like, wow, they got away with a lot back in '74. This is a movie that would not be made today. Definitely not. If they remade this again, it would be toned down. It would be PG-13, and they would have a bunch of fresh face Abercrombie and Fitch people who couldn't act like they did with 3D back in 2013. Because I'm not going to talk all that Texas Chainsaw. It's just lazy. There's only one, and I do like the remake, but this is the superior film. You know, it's a scary movie. If somebody sees this movie and said, "Oh, this child's play is not scary," the imagery is very disturbing. It looks almost like a documentary. The way it's filmed, when and the thing and it's so visceral. When Leatherface knocks, you first see him and he knocks that guy out with a freaking hammer. It's like, wow, that still gets me every time. And the look of Leatherface, the human flesh on his face, covering his face, and the chainsaw, which is one of the most iconic horror, you know, weapons in the history of cinema, that's been used in other films like Evil Dead, the Sharknado films, and other films as well. It's definitely, yeah. The ending of the film is one of the most iconic endings ever. Where the guy one of the hitchhiker gets run over by a truck. Amazing visual effects. There's no CGI in this movie. It didn't need it. It was ahead of its time. When he gets when Leatherface drops the chainsaw and gets his leg cut, That's freaking amazing. Just it's still disturbing. And Marilyn Burns is laughing with a pool of blood on her face because she gets away from him, and he starts swinging the chainsaw left and right. It's an amazing film. It's not for everybody. If you don't ever show your children this movie, especially if they're really young, because it will disturb them and it could cause nightmares. Wait until they're adults and then they can see them for themselves if it's their choice. But use precaution when you're seeing this, and don't see this on a full stomach because you never know. It could affect you. It didn't affect me because I've seen more disturbing than this, but it is what it is. It is a great movie. It's a great horror film and one of the best of all time. And I can say that without hesitation. Now, that's my review of the original 1974 classic Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for liking and subscribing and commenting. You guys are awesome. Loved that you guys have been, leaving comments on my videos, my old ones from last year, from this year. Just it's a really good feeling. But later, guys.